Hello and welcome to episode number 25 of On The Sidelines, so a milestone episode for us. My name is Benedict Rhodes,
And I'm Matthew Limberni.
and thanks for watching as always. Before we get into it, though, Matthew, today's a special anniversary in Canadian sports, of course. It's the 11th anniversary of Sidney Crosby scoring the golden goal at the Vancouver 2010 Olympics. What sort of memories do you have of that day and of that event?
Yeah, I remember watching with my family. I know it was 11 years ago today, so I don't really necessarily remember everything that happened at 10 years old, or 9 or 10 years old, I should say. But uh, yeah, I just remember watching with my family home and just like just amazing, just how amazing that goal was, and how amazing that Olympics too, I should say, was. Brought back many memories today.
Yeah, we'll be making a full video about those Olympics soon. We keep promising it, but for now, I guess we'll leave it at that. Um, you know, we were so young. We were 9 years old when that goal was scored, so it's kind of special. We can remember those memories so vividly still. But like I said, we'll get into that in a full video, hopefully sometime soon. Also, before we start, I also want to say sorry for the technical difficulties. We've been having some again, so on my phone today. Um, but yeah, we won't let that stop us from bringing you some great sports content. So with that in mind, we'll move on to the NHL season. We'll start in the North Division. Um, Last night, the Leafs took the first of a three-game series against the Oilers with a 4-0 win. What did you make of that game?
Yeah, it was impressive for the Leafs. I would say not to, I mean, to win without their starting goaltender Frederik Anderson and their top scorer Austin Matthews. I mean, of course, going into the game was, if Matthews was going to play, was Matthews versus McDavid, but definitely didn't need him for that game, especially yesterday, because when you give no goals to a team that has McDavid and Draisaitl, I think that's pretty impressive, especially with Jack Campbell in net for the Leafs.
Yeah, like you mentioned, like a shutout win against a team with players like you mentioned, McDavid and Draisaitl is always an impressive result. But especially without Austin Matthews and without Frederik Anderson, and that sort of shows the Leafs mean business.
Yeah, and I mean also too this it plays into the North Division standings too, because going into the game the Oilers were 4 points behind the Leafs, trying to pull closer to the Leafs in the standings. But now the Leafs are 6 points ahead of the Oilers, but of course anything can change with the other two games they have this week against Edmonton.
And the Leafs also have a game in hand over the Oilers too. So by the end of this series, they could be 10 points up and have a game in hand. So that'd be quite something.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it would be safe to say right now that these would be the two top teams in the North Division. Would you agree?
On current form and current sort of ability, I guess I would agree with that. Like people have said, I think like a lot can change in a very short time in this season, especially with the 2, 3, 4 game series we're starting to see. Like that could cause some huge problems if a team is 4 points up and then they lose 3 games in a row, and all of a sudden they're no longer in that spot. So, um, but based on current form, I would say the Leafs and the Oilers are definitely the top two. But
Yeah, that's
one
just.
team. Oh,
Oh,
sorry. Go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I say one team that's um kind of jumping up the standings. The 4 wins in a row now is the Winnipeg Jets. Um, like I said they've won 4 games in a row. They have 2 games in hand over the Leafs at the top and three in hand over the Oilers just above them. They've only 1 point less than the Oilers. So um, if the Leafs beat the Oilers and the Jets win their game against the Canucks tomorrow night, then the Jets would be in second place. And I think it's also fair to say the Jets are at the moment a top three team, fairly a top three team in this division.
Yeah, another team too on the rise, as you mentioned, Winnipeg, and I guess another team too that we thought would be that we expected to be playing this year. I mean, but has slipped recently with a 5 game losing streak. Is the Montreal Canadiens, who fired their head coach Claude Julien this week. Um, did you think this was too early to fire their coach, Ben?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think they were 17 games in when they fired him, or 18 or something. And to me, 18 games into a season um, is always too early. But in a season that's only 56 games, I think like it seems like a season where you should just want to have consistency. mid-season coaching change maybe shouldn't have been on the priority list for Montreal. Um, and also they weren't doing that bad. They're on a bit of a losing streak, but they're still a top four team. They still have a ton of points. They should be a top four team come the end of the season in theory. Um, they have 2 points in hand over the Flames below them and a point more, so they should be uh, safe, I'd say. But um, it does seem a little bit early to me. What about you?
I would say it's a little too early. I mean, I think they should have waited till the end of the season to decide on their coaching status. But yeah, like you said, every team has their I guess losing streaks. I mean, every good team has like losing streaks, like Montreal has recently. I mean, I guess maybe the reason why they kind of pulled the trigger now is because of maybe those the results against Ottawa in the past week. Maybe that sort of went into an effect for their coaching decision, and to end up going up with their assistant coach at the coaching filling in the coaching vacancy. But yeah, I think for me, I would say it's still too it would still be too early.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And also, like another element of this as well is the Canadians have lost five in a row, and the Leafs haven't lost five in regulation all season total. So that's a little bit worrying thing for Montreal. But I agree with everything you said. I think end of the season would have been my choice, and if I was a Montreal executive, obviously I'm not, of course, but there's also an angle to this of Claude Julien and his health issues. He missed a bit of time over the last couple of seasons, I think, with his health issues, and he chose to coach during the pandemic. He chose to stay loyal to his team, and he could have justifiably opted out of the season. But he was loyal to them, and I think they probably should have been a little bit more loyal to him as well. Um, but at the same time, I guess this is a results business, and if they thought that changing their coach in the middle of the season was going to be right for them on the ice, then I guess that's what matters.
Yeah, and I mentioned that. I mean, maybe it can be some sort of betrayal if you think about it. Considering they would fire their coach now and not wait till the end of the season, or to see how the season plays out for them. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of a question as to if it was the right move or not. But I guess now you mentioned that they should be in the top four to make the playoffs come playoff time. But I mean, looking at the standings right now, of course they have Calgary right behind them that could easily pass them, but of course Montreal's 2 games in hand of Calgary, so that could differentiate the effect of the standings. But um, yeah, is there any like team right now? I mean, I know Vancouver and Ottawa are struggling, but do you see any chance like a team like Calgary pass Montreal?
Yeah, I could definitely see Calgary being in that top four. Like you said, I think Vancouver and Ottawa are not really in the playoff picture at the moment. But they're definitely, I think, five teams competing for four spots right now in this division, right? Like um, yeah, Calgary could definitely be in that top five, especially if the Montreal Canadiens continue to slip and the Flames go on a little hot streak. They beat the Leafs this week. Um, like anything can happen in this North Division, of course, and stranger things have happened than the Flames making the playoffs. I think.
Yeah, I mean, if they continue to have those playoff series, I call it, but like a 2 game series against their 2 game series they had against the Leafs on Monday and Wednesday. Of course, they took 3 or 4 points against the Leafs. So if they continue to play that well against other teams like Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Montreal, I think and beat the teams they should beat like Vancouver and Ottawa, who have struggled all season to say the least. They could easily, as you say, can make it in the top four.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it. Like being the teams they should be. Like any team who wants to be a serious playoff contender should be beating the Canucks and the Senators. Although the Canucks aren't that far off, only 4 points back of the Flames. All the Flames have played two less games than the Canucks, but I don't think they're going to be contending for a playoff spot. But I think they're maybe better than people give them credit for. But them and the Senators could definitely be spoilers in other teams' playoff chances. I think.
Yeah, Ottawa's definitely been a spoiler, I would say, in the throughout the season. I mean, I know they only have 7 wins, but they they have won against the Leafs, Canadians. They've still been getting wins, but of course, no one really sees them as a real playoff team, anyways. But yeah, as you mentioned, they have sort of been playing spoiler in the past couple of weeks with especially against the Leafs. I forgot to mention too when the Leafs were up 5-1 against Ottawa. I think it was a couple of weeks ago now. I guess it's been 2 weeks now. When the Leafs were up 5-1 against Ottawa, and Ottawa came back to score 5 goals and win in OT. It's games like that that can spoil a good team season, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think, like you said, I think they're going to be the ones of the games against the Canucks and the Senators going to be the ones that decide the playoff race. I think ultimately, not the ones against between the Leafs and the Canadians or the Leafs and the Oilers. Like that's going to shape the standings, but it's not going to. I don't think anyway affect who that fourth team is going to be. I think that's going to come against who can sort of win clutch games when they need to.
Yeah, and I was also going to say before we move on, like it's unfortunate to see, I mean, I know Vancouver has struggled, but considering the year they had last year, beating St. Louis in the qualifying round, and getting to the second round against Vegas, of course, losing in a game seven to them. That it's kind of unfortunate to see them kind of have a down year. And I meant to say Minnesota in the qualifying and St. Louis in the first round, I should say. But yeah, they've kind of been a down season for Vancouver so far.
Yeah, a lot of people have sort of high expectations. Like I think a lot of Canadian hockey fans sort of want to see the Canucks be successful. And they're kind of like everyone's second team in a way, and almost like they're entertaining. They have some good players, and their fans have had a lot of pain since they lost that Stanley Cup, of course. It's been a decade almost, I think, of suffering for that franchise. So um, I think a lot of people want to see Vancouver do well. It's just they got to start performing to show that they can do well.
Yeah, and as we said, anything can happen in this Canadian division, and yeah, obviously when if anything crazy happens, we'll continue to discuss it on OTS. But I guess if nothing else to talk about the North, we can move on to the U.S. divisions, the three in the U.S. right now. Any big takeaways so far for you?
Yeah, one is that the Red Wings aren't last at the moment. I think that's an achievement for them to not be last 23 games into their season. The caveat of that, of course, is that they've played the most games in the division, and they've played 7 games more than the team behind them, the Stars, who only have 1 point less than them. So the Stars have 16 and 16, and the Red Wings have 17 and 23. So the Red Wings will be last, but it's kind of a nice temporary moment of achievement, I guess, for the Red Wings. Also in that division, the Panthers, of course, they've looked really good. And on a positive note, I guess they have 29 points in 20 games, and they're looking very good. I think they've had a lot of inconsistent years over the last few years, but this is kind of maybe their chance to finally step up and play some meaningful playoff games
Yeah,
at the end
you
of the season.
meant. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, my bad. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Panthers have been playing well this year so far, and they also I think at one point they were actually first in this division, but I mean they are technically in first because they're tied with Tampa Bay for the most points in this division. But of course, Tampa has a game in hand, so that could change. But yeah, Florida's been playing well this year, and also another team too, Chicago, has been playing some good hockey too. I mean, been playing well. You mentioned Detroit, who's played the most games in this division and in second last, only ahead of the Dallas Stars, who've only played 16 games this year and only a point. Dallas being only a point behind Detroit, so obviously that can change um, in a game, I should say. Um, but yeah, there's been a couple of teams we've expected to play well, some maybe not, like maybe Nashville too, who's I would say kind of been on a downward trajectory ever since they lost to the Stanley Cup in the Stanley Cup Finals against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and if you look at, you mentioned the in the Central Division, the Blackhawks are playing well without their captain Jonathan Taves as well, of course. And if you look at that, the trade between not the Leafs, sorry, the Jets and the Blue Jackets, Laine for Dubois, the Jets have won four in a row and are now in a playoff spot, whereas the Blue Jackets have lost four in a row and are now fifth. So I'm not sure who won or lost that trade, but one team's certainly been playing better since the trade happened than the other team. Let's say.
Yeah, I think we'll find out the real winner of this trade, but I think right now, so far, it's safe to say that Winnipeg has been winning this trade. I think you can tell in the standings and how both teams have been playing. But yeah, if Columbus can't really step up their game in the next couple months and make the playoffs, they'll definitely be the loser of this trade.
And I think it's safe to say that the most entertaining division, in the sense that it's the tightest, is the West Division. Like first place are the Golden Knights with 25 points in 17 games, and within like 8 points are the Ducks in second last with 17. So um, it is a tight division. The Golden Knights also have 3 or 4 games in hand over most of their opponents, so they could run away with this division. But that division is pretty tight at the moment. I think like there's like 9 points separating first and last. So that's pretty tight compared to some of the other divisions in the NHL at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, the West has been definitely entertaining. I mean, there's been some teams with some hot streaks recently, like Minnesota, who's won six in a row. The Kings, who I think won five in a row recently, but now on a two-game losing streak. Of course, I think yesterday losing to, or the past two games losing to Minnesota. But yeah, there's been a lot of ups and downs, but it's definitely a close race when you look at the standings. Um, yeah, I mean, I haven't really expected Minnesota to play well as they have been. Uh, Even the Kings too, who are just a point behind Colorado for fourth in that division. Um, and San Jose and Anaheim, I think we kind of expected to be a down season for them, but of course they can make a crazy make a crazy run and make it into the playoffs come when May comes. But yeah, it's been definitely a tight race.
Yeah, for sure. And a couple of other things before we move on from the NHL. Of course, one thing last night, did you see Jordan Bennington's sort of rant he had on his way off the ice yesterday?
Yeah, that was definitely not a Jordan Bennington thing to do, but yeah, that was definitely a crazy incident there. But I mean, I think it just plays into the craziness that game brought with the 7-6 final score. Um, but yeah, that was definitely a. I mean, I was kind of surprised that Jordan Bennington would do something like that, as they said. But I mean, with each team playing each other eight times, I think it can rile up some players.
And for those who didn't see it, Jordan Bennington, during the game against the San Jose Sharks last night, was being pulled after 4 goals on 19 shots, I think, and decided to just start punching people. He punched someone near the bench. He punched someone in mid-ice, and then on his way off the ice, the other team's goalie decided to have a go at him. So he punched him too before someone finally got him off the ice. So um, just a wild situation. And uh, the Blues ended up winning anyway, like Matthew said, 7-6. It was all for naught, and we'll see if any disciplinary action comes of it. But more than anything, it's just embarrassing. I think for Bennington.
Yeah, and yeah, I would say this, like, yeah, I mean, as I've said, there things can happen in this pandemic season with I mean, San Jose and St. Louis you wouldn't really think of as a real rivalry, but with this unique season and both teams playing each other eight times, as I said, that can, I guess, rile up some players like Jordan Bennington, for example. But yeah, totally, I guess, can happen in this kind of division.
And one more thing, yes, before we move on, maybe not so much on the ice, but what did you think of the Lake Tahoe games?
Yeah, yeah, it's been a week now for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I would say I was fairly impressed with how they did it. I mean, I wouldn't say really the Saturday game, considering that 8 or 9 hour delay when when the puck dropped. I think it was at like 3 o'clock or something, if I'm not wrong, Eastern time, and then they had to pause it after a period and start at midnight Eastern time. That was kind of an unfortunate situation for the league to be in, but and I mean, also the other game on Sunday was kind of a blowout, so maybe not too exciting. But um, I guess I'd say overall it was pretty impressive. Just trying to do it through a pandemic season is pretty impressive.
And some of those views were insane, like the lake in the background, the mountains, like the snow, the forest all around the stadium. Like it was really really cool. Definitely jealous of those who got to go there and experience that.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine like if the Canadian division did something like that this year, how much that would attract too. If we could have had like the Oilers Flames face each other and the Leafs Habs facing each other, like in I think someone mentioned like Lake Louise as I think in Alberta somewhere, for example. Something like that would have been cool to have this year, but I guess it obviously can't happen.
Let's have like the Leafs and the Habs playing on like the Gardiner Expressway.
Yeah, that would be something. I think traffic would be backed up for probably the whole day or a couple days there, but
Oh, sorry like that.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, those games.
um,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
All right. Well, yeah, I was just gonna say before we move on, yeah, yeah, I think it attracted a lot of people too, if I'm not wrong. The Lake Tahoe games. I mean, one of course being the scenery that everyone was accustomed to while watching those games. I think. I mean, I think that made the game more entertaining. Uh, playing there in Lake Tahoe. Um, but of course, it didn't came with some major issues on Saturday, but on the Saturday game. But you know, at least they got it done, right?
Exactly. What about in future seasons, even when fans are allowed back in? Would you like to see another like made for TV event like that with no fans? And do you think that's something the NHL should consider doing again? Maybe you obviously can't get 20,000 people to go watch a game outside in Lake Tahoe, but do you think something like that's a possibility again?
Um, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think if this pandemic continues to, hopefully it doesn't, but if this pandemic continues on like
So yeah,
through a through through a big time of next year or so, whatever. I mean, I think it's pretty expected. But if we're in this kind of situation, like let's say in October, November, or December, I mean, we could really have this kind of situation again, but somewhere else in the U.S. or even in Canada too. I mean, I think I prefer with the fans. I think the last outdoor game I think there was the Colorado and LA when they were playing. I don't remember where exactly right now, but I think I really just miss the outdoor atmosphere with like just thinking back to even when Michigan University hosted the Leafs and Red Wings with like 100,000 people there. Just thinking of those kinds of games is it makes me want to have those kind of crowds again and fan driven things like that. But I mean, obviously, it might be a while for us to get back to that many fans in a stadium. So I guess I'd say sure, have a fanless kind of thing like Lake Tahoe if this happens next season.
yeah, I agree. I think don't do it in a few years. Hopefully, when you have full stadiums again. But if we get to the point at the start of next season, like maybe opening night or opening night's probably not more cold enough, but say like sometime in the earliest part of next season where we're still gonna have limited capacity, I think why not, right? Like play a game outside.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot of. I mean, obviously, you can use any MLB stadium, NFL stadium. You have a lot of options there too. So
CFL
yeah,
stadiums.
exactly. Yeah. So hopefully they continue. Obviously, obviously they'll continue the outdoor tradition, but we'll have to see what they do with the fanless thing, I guess.
Yeah, I guess we'll move on to our next topic now, which is MLB Spring Training. Games are getting underway today, Sunday, the 28th of February, with the season exactly 1 month from tomorrow on April 1st. So, how exciting is that to finally have baseball games being played again?
Yeah, I'm totally excited for a new MLB season. I think I'm excited to get back to a 162 game season with a lot more games than a 60 game season. From last year's very short. Um, but yeah, it brings out, I guess, the start of spring training. It starts to bring out more excitement. Of course, as you mentioned, the season is only a month away, and uh, we're coming up to opening day, in which our favorite team, the Jays, faces the Yankees on April 1st. So yeah, there's a lot of excitement, and also there's a couple of fans, like a limited capacity too in these stadiums, in these spring training stadiums, in Arizona and Florida. So it's sort of, I guess it's sort of a progressive way to get back to a normal season somehow.
Yeah, for sure. And there's been some other changes to the spring training. Like you said, the limited fans. There's been a couple of changes to the Grapefruit League for travel reasons. Um, what do you make of those sort of changes? I guess they're kind of expected, I guess, with COVID going on.
Yeah, I wasn't shocked. I mean, I don't think any, like, I mean, obviously there's no point in changing the Cactus League schedule, because they're all in a 40-50 minute span, with all the teams are in that kind of span of each other. But I guess in the sense of the Grapefruit League, it's better to have teams out in the west coast of Florida play, there, and then teams on the east coast of Florida play, the only teams there. So I think it makes the most sense, and of course it cuts less travel and for these teams, and I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, well, I'll have a more in-depth MLB preview at some point over the next month as we lead up to the season. Um, but maybe a couple other talking points, I guess, around the Jays. The first one is no more radio broadcasts. Sportsnet announced, I guess, that they won't be doing the separate radio broadcast with separate commentators. They'll instead be sort of simulcasting the TV broadcast onto radio, and they'll not be the only team in Major League Baseball without a standalone radio broadcast. And what do you kind of think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised for this. I mean, I guess, I mean, it's kind of to be the only team in the MLB to not have a radio broadcast is kind of, I mean, I don't know the whole backstory of why they did it, but I mean, I mean, it doesn't affect me too much, because like I don't really listen to the Jays on radio. It's mostly on TV anyways. So I mean, I guess I'd say, like, I'd question why they do this. I mean, if there's any background information as to why they did this, that would be good to know. But yeah, I mean, not really affecting me though.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't really look into it too much, but I'm assuming it's for money reasons, financial reasons. But we saw about a month ago, I want to say, like Mike Wilner from the Jays radio network. He left uh, left the network, I guess, and joined the Toronto Star as a writer. So I kind of wondered if something might be up. I didn't expect him to fully cancel it, but I was expecting changes. But yeah, that's definitely an interesting thing. I imagine a lot of fans will be asking for it back. Like I said, I'm not really affected either. I mostly watch on TV instead of the radio, but a lot of fans do listen to the radio broadcast. So it'll be interesting to see if this is just a 1 year thing, or if fans are going to eventually get their way and get that regular radio broadcast back eventually.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I guess we'll have to see what happens there, but definitely something to look out for. But I guess also on the subject of the Jays too, they announced that they're going to be starting their season in their spring training site in Dunedin, for at least, I think it's until May 14th. But I mean, obviously, it could be throughout the entire season if you got the Buffalo Bisons, their AAA affiliate in Buffalo, starting their season soon too. So that obviously could be a big reason for this decision. Yeah, I guess I'll ask you, Ben. Do you think that Dunedin will be a permanent home, or do you think, hope, fingers crossed, if something good happens with this year, if the Jays can actually play at home, or maybe even Buffalo too?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see them in Toronto this year. Unfortunately, I imagine it's going to end up being like what the Raptors said. Like we'll keep we'll keep watching until further notice, and then eventually just decide to stay down there. I think it just makes more sense logistically to just stay consistent. They have an amazing new facility down there in Dunedin, of course, too. They've been showing off on their Twitter account. So I think for this year, they're probably just going to stay down in Dunedin.
Yeah, I mean, as unfortunate as it is to say, I think it's safe to say that the Jays are going to be. I think they're going to play their full year in Dunedin, but I mean, of course, if I mean, it's tough too to play in Buffalo when you got the Buffalo Bisons playing there in their starting their season. I think it's April or May, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, it's I think it's unfortunate though that it's obviously unfortunate, but border restrictions and COVID related things. I think it's obviously the right thing to do.
Yeah, for sure. He says it's unfortunate, but I think it's what has to be done. Like I said, same with the Raptors. They're staying down in Florida, and I guess it's gonna have to happen. I think, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just the theme of this past sports year. Every Canadian team just
This decade.
trying to find a home in the U.S. Luckily for the Jays, they actually have a backup.
Yeah, yeah. That's the one of the benefits of having minor league teams and having a spring training home like that amazing base they have down there is in case of a worldwide pandemic, you have a fall option to fall back on. So, um, anything less on MLB before we move on to our last topic, Matthew?
I think I'm good. And if there's anything else, unless you want to discuss.
I think I'm good too. Our third and sort of final major topic, I guess, is the NBA season. We're closing in on the All Star break. We have 5 days left as of the time of recording, Sunday afternoon. Um, but we have had some more COVID issues in the NBA, including with the Raptors. The game versus the Bulls has been postponed, and there's no coaching staff for the game on Friday. Um, what have you kind of made of the whole sort of COVID issue with the Raptors, Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, I thought there was something sort of fishy, I guess I would say, when when the Raptors announced that their whole coaching staff would be in the game on Friday, and then of course now we know that they're going through contact tracing through all the COVID protocols and stuff too, just something the season brings. But yeah, and even with the announcement of Siakam being out until after the All Star break, kind of raised some concern too. Um, obviously these kind of things are bound to happen this year, and just unfortunate that had to hit the Raps most recently.
Yeah, I guess a benefit, if there's any silver lining, I guess, of course, in this is that it happened at the All Star break, so there's a couple of days now to sort of isolate and come back and be healthy and ready to go. In about a week, I guess, when we're back from the All Star break.
Yeah, and I mean, hopefully, they can play their final two games before the All Star break. I think they have Detroit and Boston, but obviously, if they have to continue to self isolate and go through contact tracing, that might not be feasible at this point.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else on the Raptors before I move on to looking at the league as a whole, I guess?
I think I'm good at the Raps. I mean, I was actually just going to mention too one thing about the Raps about the second half schedule was released this week and the Raps do definitely have a lot of tough opponents, and like I think they have to face the Lakers and Clippers twice and the Jazz too twice, all who are top three in the West right now. So that's going to be kind of tough for the Raps. So maybe getting as much rest as possible at this point is good for the final stretch of the season.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned there's some tough teams coming up. You have the Lakers, the Clippers, the Jazz, and a few others. Um, what teams have impressed you so far around the league this year?
Yeah, the team
Maybe
I
the top
said
three,
you
let's say.
Yeah, well, the one team I said Utah just recently. I think they've been playing the best basketball in the NBA this year. Um, they've clearly clearly shown everybody, with their blowout loss to the Lakers, albeit it wasn't with Anthony Davis in the game. But yeah, the Jazz I think have been the best team in the NBA this year, and obviously it shows with their record as they are 27-7 right now. Probably going to be the best in the NBA going into the All Star break. And also, I can't believe I'm saying this too. One of the other teams I've been impressed with is the New York Knicks, who are actually tied for the fourth spot, the Raptors, right now. They've sort of stepped up their game this year and have played very well. But yeah, I think the Knicks have been playing well, and even the Raptors too, who are two teams who have been I guess two teams that I've been surprised with so far in the fourth and fifth spot, even better than Boston, Miami, and Indiana right now.
Yeah, I'd agree. There are some very good teams, especially in that Western Conference. I think there are sort of a couple of so stand out. I guess like these the Utah Jazz and also the Phoenix, not Phoenix Suns. They're the Phoenix Suns. Sorry, I'm thinking Arizona Coyotes for a second. From the Arizona Suns. Yeah, the Phoenix Suns they had a good end to the season in the NBA bubble, but I don't think anyone expected them to be a top four team in the Western, very good Western Conference in the NBA. Um, so I think them being 21-11, I think is very impressive. The Jazz are 27-7, which is amazing. Of course, in the Eastern Conference, the Knicks 17-17, top five team in the East after being irrelevant for a very long time. So um, always exciting to see Canadians doing well, of course, as well with RJ Barrett with the Knicks and Jamal Murray with the Jazz, of course. So a lot of interesting stuff happening and a lot of surprise teams, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, too. I mean, of course, in the West, I think the two LA teams are safe to say we expected them to play this well, anyways. I guess some teams I'd say that haven't been playing well this year or having a successful year is Denver, teams like Denver, Dallas, and even too. I mean, I guess Houston, but of course, James Harden isn't there anymore, so that probably explains why they're 14th in the West right now. Um, but I guess even in the Eastern Conference too, it's a very tight playoff race as the fourth seeded Raptors and the 14th seeded Cavs are only separated by 4 games. So it's a very tight playoff race there, and any team can have a hot streak like Washington, who's been playing very great lately, and only 2.5 games back of the Raps for the fourth spot. I mean, not saying they might play that get to that kind of position, but any kind of bad team that has a good streak can probably get to the sixth or fifth spot. Anything can happen.
Yeah, definitely. I think it can happen in the NBA. And sports are really like that. Like you think a team's bad, and all of a sudden they go and win. You said a few games in a row, and you mentioned earlier with the North Division as well. Like a lot can change in a very short season like this, and an action-packed season. So many games being played so quick, and um, or after the All-Star game is when the pressure starts to build up. So we'll see which teams thrive on that and which teams sort of collapse a little bit.
Yeah, and there has been, of course, some teams rising up and some teams, playing below standards, as we've been saying. Like even Boston too has been playing kind of below standards, and Indiana, a couple other teams. But yeah, there's a lot of teams in that mix, and also keep in mind too, there's the play-in tournament too. So the ninth and 10th spot, even though they'll make the playoffs, still have to play their way into the actual playoffs itself. So we'll have to see what happens these final 2 months, I guess it is. But yeah, we'll see how that goes.
And of course, we keep mentioning Matthew that we're a few days away from the All Star break, but a question keeps remaining: like, should we even be playing an All Star game? Like to me personally, it doesn't make sense. What do you think?
Yeah, I've been on the fence with this decision. I mean, the past, like when it was announced, I've been on the fence about the NBA hosting this All-Star game, but I think in the end it doesn't seem to make sense. I mean, of course, the big issue is COVID, and hopefully we don't have an actual COVID outbreak after this. But you're bringing in players from different teams, and that kind of from different bubbles, I would say, because every team is sort of in their sort of bubble themselves. But yeah, I don't think it's really makes sense for them to do it for a pandemic season. But of course, the NBA wants to. It's kind of a money-driven thing and for entertainment, so of course they want to do it themselves. But I mean, I guess from a fan perspective, I would say probably not worth it.
Yeah, I would agree. This is definitely money driven. I think, and I think it's also a bit irresponsible, like you mentioned, bringing players in from all around the country, including from some COVID hotspots, of course, and bringing them to Atlanta for this game. And it just seems really irresponsible to me. I think an outbreak hopefully won't happen, of course, but it seems inevitable almost. And just with the travel and going back and forth from market to market for a meaningless game, essentially. I mean, it's a fun game. It's a popular thing that the fans are going to want to watch, but I just don't think it makes a whole lot of sense this year. To, excuse me, this year to do it.
Yeah, and there's also a reason why the NHL is not doing it, because they can't really bring in all. I mean, there's the border divisions too, but there's a reason why they're not doing it too, because it kind of brings an inconvenience to the season. I think players would rather just have a 1 week pause, rather than some players having to fly out to Atlanta and play this All-Star game. But I think it's a win-win situation. Sorry, for teams that actually aren't bringing a player to the All-Star game because they'll be able to get some real rest before the second half starts.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's also a very good reason to not host a game at all, right? Like have a week of just isolating at home for all the teams, get everyone back healthy and ready to pick up the lost momentum, I guess, lost after missing some games in the first half of the season. So again, like I don't think this makes a lot of sense, but um, hopefully it all goes well and hopefully everyone stays healthy and safe and it's fun to watch. I guess if they are going to play, it might as well be good. So um, yeah, hopefully it works out well.
Yeah, and hopefully it will be just as entertaining as the 2020 All-Star game with the kind of formation format they had for that game. And yeah, we'll see. As you mentioned, we'll see what happens with come next Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. Also hoping to see Zion Williamson in the dunk competition, but don't know if he'll want to because he's kind of injury prone, so it doesn't really make sense to do it for him. But I think as fans, we can all hope he does because he pulls off some crazy stuff in games. So um, that'd be quite a treat, I think.
Yeah, it would definitely be. I mean, there's I don't think they've really announced all participants for like the 3-point competition, slam dunk, and the skills competition yet. So I guess we'll get that in the next couple of days probably.
Anything else on NBA?
I think we're good with the NBA. If you want to, unless you want to bring up something before we go.
I want to mention quickly before we go, Tim and Sid. Even though they've been sort of inspirations for us for a while. We've been both of us been watching them for a long time. They've been doing what they've been doing for like 17 years, I think. The last episode aired on Friday. What are your kind of favorite memories of Tim and Sid, and what do you kind of think of them coming to an end? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of memories with, especially with a duo like them being together for, as you mentioned, like around 17 years. Um, yeah, I guess one of the memories I can think of right now is, Sid 60 doing that 40-yard dash in that suit that one time. It was a couple of years ago, but yeah, it's just one of the memories I have. And also, I think it was also to him watching. Was it the Euros when Portugal was in the Euros? I think it was
Yeah.
like a penalty shootout. That was another, that kind of reaction while the show was airing was another funny memory too.
Yeah, for sure. Like there's so many moments like that. Like one of my favorite moments from Tim and Sid was when they were singing, when Sid was singing Despacito on the air and naming random Spanish soccer teams instead of the lyrics when he forgot them. And another one was you mentioned like something they did live on the air was when the Canadian women were playing the gold medal game in the Olympics for the ice hockey and they scored the winning goal in overtime and the red light, Tim was holding a red light that started going and Sid was going crazy with Donovan Bennett. I think was also in the studio with them, and Sid saying like "knock knock, who's there?" Gold medal in the face, and it was like this like amazing moment. It was just hilarious, and I don't think anyone has ever done it as well as them. Stuff like that, like you mentioned with the Euros as well, like live on the air, just sort of live reacting to stuff. I think no one does it better than them, and um, I can't remember a time ever watching sports in my sports watching time where Tim and Sid haven't been around. So definitely getting used to not think, oh, it's 5 o'clock on a weekday, better put on Tim and Sid. Right, that'll take some getting used to, but yeah, tons of great memories of them, of course, and definitely an inspiration for both of us, I think.
Yeah, we wish, of course, Sid 60, sorry, well in his new gig at BT, and yeah, and I think you mentioned the name of the new show. If you want to mention that, I think.
Oh yeah, they announced earlier, or they kind of made it publicly announced earlier. I guess that's called Tim and Friends. So it looks like Tim McAuliffe and a sort of a rotating guest of colleagues and guests. So that's definitely something to watch out for. Definitely going to be good stuff, and can't wait to watch that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And anything else to bring up before we wrap up?
No, I think that's everything.
All right. In that case, then, thank you guys for watching our milestone episode, our 25th episode of OTS. My name's Matthew Limberni.
And my name is Benedict Rhodes. And before we say goodbye as well, sorry for all the technical difficulties you'll encounter during watching this, but hope you enjoyed anyway. But yeah, my name is Benedict Rhodes.
Yeah, my name's Matthew Limberni.
And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.